hate to say this, but we didn't have enough, and I'm going to make stuff up now, O2 or CO2 in it, and it actually started a fire, and we burnt our laser to the ground in 2008.
Oh.
I know some of you guys are the same as me. I was always been a kid. I love lasers, playing with them. I always thought it was super cool. It was some futuristic thing. We're never going to have guns. We're going to have lasers in the future. It was always something that was really neat. And then I got to meet this gentleman, Clay, and he actually figured out how to play with lasers for the rest of his life and make money at it. So, Clay, thanks for coming on the show, man. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, Aaron. I appreciate it. Doing great. It's really hot down here in Texas.
Oh, I bet. He's got that heat wave, nuclear. What's the temp today going to be at?
Actually, we're in the middle of a cool front, so highs are in
Okay.
the upper 80s right now, and it's actually, yeah, it's been a relatively cool summer. We haven't had any days over 100, which I can't recall any summers where that's ever been the case. So,
It was a very late winter for us in San Diego. Super late.
yeah, and lots of rain. I think we've had more rain. We've had more rain the first 6 months of the year, I think, than we normally get like all year. So,
Oh,
it's
wow. So you
crazy.
guys are getting worked over.
Yeah.
So you and me have been talking for quite some time now, and I asked you to come on the show, and thank you very much for agreeing with this. And I just think your industry is so amazing, so cool. I got to talk about it. I mean, it's really cool because the laser, you don't see the laser, but you get to see what it's doing, and that alone, I just think is just one of the neatest things.
And yeah, we do have a little red dot so you can see the laser. And a lot of people actually think that there's a like the little laser that you use for your cat to make the cat jump around. We actually have one of those that we hook up to the machines, and so it'll show you where the beam's going. But yeah, you can't actually see the laser in action.
So I got a laser a long time ago at the shop, and I hate to say this, but we didn't have enough, and I'm gonna make stuff up now, O2 or CO2 in it, and it actually started a fire, and we burnt our laser to the ground in 2008.
Oh.
Oh yeah, we did that. And so what it was an overload of CO2 or an overload of oxygen. What was it?
I'm not sure. We don't pump gas into our lasers, so
Okay.
I don't know what kind of. You must have. Was it pretty high power? Were you cutting metal?
Yeah, no, it wasn't that high a power. It was a small 2x3. It was an epilogue 2x3. I want to say 100 watt or an 80 watt. And we're cutting
Uh,
a bunch of acrylic, and you gotta lift up in the lid every once in a while to get oxygen in there because there's a load of CO2.
Yeah, so there's an air pump in there that's blowing air down as the laser hits the material. So it's like blowing your material off. And if you don't have that, it's also like keeping your lens cool. And so if you don't have the air, but it's just air that's pumping through there. And if that goes off, you've got a big fire blowtorch and no air putting it out. So yeah, it'll catch stuff on fire pretty quick.
Yeah, well, I learned the hard way on that one, very much so.
Nuts.
So that no, that's my stored laser, but we've had one for God almost 2 decades now, and I love it. It's one of my favorite machines. It really is. It's so cool. We use all kinds of things for it. So when you and I were talking, I was like, man, you got to come on the show here. But I'm gonna start this one off just because I giggle my butt off over this. How is quilting and the signage in the same space, and how did you become in the same space as those two? Is quilting and signage? I got to hear this story.
Yeah, so quilting is not part of the signage space, but my mom started a retail quilt shop about 30 years ago, and we've grown it into, we've got a campus now over 9 acres, 70,000 square feet, 70 employees. It's a huge operation. And through the quilt shop, we were a retail business and we needed to cut fabric. And so we started purchasing laser machines. We were cutting the fabric by hand, which was very tedious. And so we started outsourcing the laser cutting to a company actually in California. And then eventually we said, hey, we could do this ourselves. We could cut, because we're cutting fabric shapes out, little intricate fabric shapes. And we said we could do this ourselves. Let's buy a laser machine. And so we did, and just kind of kept growing from there. We kept growing. We were selling these kits to other quilt shops, and then eventually we bought like 4 or 5 machines. And then finally, this company was like, "Hey, you're a good customer. Do you want to be one of our distributors?" And so I said, sure. And so that's how I went from quilting to lasers.
I love it. I love it. So you got what was it? We got Thunder Laser USA is the name of your company, and what type of laser machines are you guys selling? What is kind of your bread and butter, and what do you see been working really well for the signage industry?
CO2 lasers. So we sell CO2 lasers, kind of 30 to 120 watt, desktop size on up to about a 5 foot by 3 foot imprint. So you can cut through, basically anything except metal with these machines. On the higher end wattages, you can cut through like up to an inch of acrylic, 3/4 inch of wood. Um, so that's what we see. Most of our signage people are cutting wood and acrylic a lot, but they'll really slice through just about anything, like I said, except for metal.
Gotcha. So how I've never cut wood on my laser. That would scare me because as we all know, wood is flammable. Acrylic doesn't have a burn rate nearly what wood does. How do you guys keep that thing from catching on fire?
So it's the air, right? Yeah, it's the air that blows in that you didn't have. That air is just constantly, where the laser beam meets the wood, it's blowing air right there, and so that's essentially like your fire extinguisher. And we all, we always advise that you watch your laser. A lot of people will want to turn on a job and then walk away. And actually, your more experienced users do this the most. But we also tell them to have not only a fire extinguisher, but usually just a spray bottle. So, like if something does catch fire, you got a little spray bottle of water next to your laser. Normally, especially if you're actually like halfway watching it, like a little couple of squirts of water and the fire goes out.
Gotcha. What is the finish like on the wood when it's cut by a laser? What does that look like?
So it's going to be burned. I mean, you're burning through materials, like you're always burning stuff, and so that's something that you work with as an operator. You're trying to reduce that amount of char, and obviously, like the thicker the wood, the more char you're going to have, and so the slower you go, the more char you're going to have. But you can combat that with like more air, so you can like upgrade your air assist, and you go from like 5 or 10 psi going into the machine to like 50 psi. That's going to help your char and all that kind of stuff. But generally, you just want to cut it as fast as you can. Honestly, as fast as you can, and still get through it.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I know with the acrylic, when you use a laser on the acrylic, it's so smooth. It's just glass smooth. It looks so
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, and with acrylic too, you're also playing with air. A lot of people do get in trouble. Like you want very little air when you're cutting acrylic because it doesn't typically catch fire, but you want it to have that flame polished edge, and that's how you're going to get that is by reducing the amount of air going through there. Because that acrylic actually turns into like a liquid, and so if you've got air like blowing on it while it's a liquid, it'll start to give it imperfections, and that's why you don't. That's how you end up with not a flame polished edge.
Gotcha. The funny thing is, first time I cut push through with our laser machine, it had flame polished the edge, and the side of the acrylic letter actually didn't illuminate, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. At the end of the day, there was nothing for the light to hit. It was just glass. The light went right through it, and
Oh
so we
well,
actually ended up having to rough the edges
you
just to
need
have
it.
the edge glow. Yeah, we needed it.
You need it to be slightly messed up, I guess.
So it's kind of funny how that's we have the push through. I give a rough edge to it, and then for the really nice stuff, we give that polished edge with laser. But yeah, learning curves as you go.
Yeah, it's always fun.
So you talked about different watches, 30, 120 watt. Let's say I'm a rookie sign shop. All I do is play with half-inch acrylic and smaller. What type of machine would you be looking to sell us, saying, "Hey, this is what you need. You don't need to go past this." Walk me through kind of what those different wattages mean.
I mean, it's really a scale, just like you would think of it, like a power. Like if you think 30 watt, 50 watt, 80 watt, the more power you have, the easier you're going to be able to cut through stuff. And typically, our machines, the smaller wattages are on smaller body machines. So if someone is kind of limited on space, they might go to that lower end wattage. But usually, when I'm having a conversation with people about how much power do they need, it's usually about their cutting capacity. So obviously, you can engrave with these things too. Like a lot of people do a bunch of engravings, but it really, when you're thinking about your your wattage, you want to be thinking about your cutting capacity. And not only does the higher wattage allow you to cut thicker materials, but it's going to allow you to cut that thinner material faster. So really, if you're just cutting stuff and that's all you're doing is cutting, if you're like Aaron, like you came in and you said, all I do all day is cut stuff, even if it's super thin stuff, I'm still going to try to get you to go as high on the wattage as possible because your throughput is going to be so much better. You're going to be able to cut, 30 watts compared to 120 watts. This machine is going to be roughly 4 times faster than the 30 watt. So that's the real advantage for the user if they have the space, if they have the budget to just go as much as they can on for the cutting capacity.
Gotcha. So the tool path speed greatly improves with that bigger wattage.
Again, so I would start there, and then if you're limited again on space or budget, we can walk down. And again, this is only people that say that they're only going to be doing 100% cutting. If you're doing a mixture of engraving or cutting, the story kind of changes a little bit too.
Just want to take a moment to talk about Square Coil here. Square Coil has been powering the signage industry since 2011, and we're only growing bigger and better and stronger every single day. Some of the latest updates have just made my life a lot easier. I'm sure it's going to make your life a lot easier. So if you haven't checked us out, go ahead and get on our website, squarecoil.com. Take a look. And if you have an outdated key, an old software program that's going to be closing its doors this year, definitely take a look at us because we can make that transition real simple for you. Take a look, squarecoil.com.
Yeah, walk us down that because I always forget about engraving because it's just not my area of expertise. But there's a lot of sign companies that do quite a bit of engraving. What does the engraving side look like?
So the engraving is basically you're just doing really fast cuts back and laser's just going like this back and forth, and it's just doing just going down into if you're cut through half-inch wood and you're getting all the way through it, then the engraving you're only going. You can tell it to do however, but 16th of an inch or whatever, and you can even just brush the top of it if you want to go really fast and just have a nice slight engraving. And for those applications, again, you don't need a lot of wattage typically because you're just like brushing the surface in a lot of instances. Now, again, if you want to get depth out of it, you need more power, but that kind of turns into like more of that cutting conversation. But yes, a ton of people do use them for engraving. I would say most of my customers are doing 50-50. Now in the signage space, when I sell to sign shops, they're typically doing a lot more cutting than engraving.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you got the engraving. Now, do you guys have like cylinders? Let's say I want to engrave something cool on a Stanley cup or something. You guys have those spinners that put them inside there?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talk to me about that because I geek out on that stuff too. I think it's really, really cool. But how does that work?
Yeah, so it's essentially, you're taking a cup and you turn the y-axis off. And so essentially, instead of the laser head moving up and down the bed this way, it's turning the cup like this. And so your x-axis keeps going, and then slowly the cup turns. And as the cup's turning, you're engraving as it rotates around. And the laser head's just going back and forth and staying in one Y spot. It's not moving up and down the bed. Yeah, that's a super popular business. Especially more of my like embroidery type shops, t-shirt shops, gift shops, those types of guys. They do a lot of cups. I remember when the Stanley rage came in, like I promise you I sold more machines or more cup machines during the Stanley rage. Like that was insane. And people were just buying those things and people were buying the lasers and then engraving the cups, putting them on Etsy. Like it was insane there for a while. It's kind of died down, and now it's gone through like a couple of different iterations of Stanleys. There's the Yeti cups, and now the dog bowls are actually really big. People are doing a lot of the Yeti dog bowls.
Gotcha. Yeah, like multiple gold rushes you got going on right now.
Yeah. And then, big one of the gold rushes right now is actually UV printing. So I see a lot of and sign shop customers going to that too. The UV printers are super cool, and you can do a lot with them.
Yeah, no, they're not only cool. I think we're looking. I don't know if it's a UV printer or not. I got to go back and take a look at it, but it'll load paint on top of paint, and it'll actually 3D print braille slugs.
That's cool.
Yeah, Mamaki's got one I've been looking at, and it'll print the 3D braille slugs. I'm like, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I got to check into that. All right, so We didn't talk about bed size, so I did have a question about that. So you got, you said smaller beds, you got a space capacity problem. Let's say I got this huge floor, space is not an issue. Your biggest Big Daddy machine, what size is it and what power does it have?
It's 63 inches wide and about, oh gosh, you're gonna catch me lying, around 4 feet, 4 feet
Okay.
deep. And then the power that's going to be on the upper end. We have a 130 watt version of that, so you're able to cut through. I mean, if it's soft wood, you can get through an inch. Um, and pretty much all the machines, I have a few different lines of machines, but there's not a lot. Like mostly what you're choosing when you go up is just that. It's just the size of the bed and the power of the laser. So there's not a whole lot of like. It's a pretty simple sales process. Like it's just how big of stuff do you want to cut, and how thick of stuff do you want to cut, and we can kind of figure it out from there.
Gotcha. So roughly a 4 by 5 foot, four
Yeah.
foot by 5 foot bed.
And they're not any more complicated. A lot of people think like, oh, for some reason the big machine like intimidates them, but it's literally the same exact machine, just in a different form. So it's not any more complicated. It's not any harder to learn. All the machines are pretty easy to learn. They can be very intimidating, but we get you up and running usually in the afternoon. I always say you can learn to use a laser in an afternoon and then spend a lifetime learning it.
All the different things that it cuts and everything else. I
Yeah,
never in a million years would have ever thought fabric and quilting. Like
yeah.
when you and I were talking about that, my brain exploded. I was like, why is this not just one big gigantic, fire as soon as it hits it?
Yeah, and you do got to be careful about it. But yes, yeah, fabric is and I've actually sold quite a few of them to other quilt shops.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's funny. I've been doing this 7 years, I guess, and which I'm not on the sales phone anymore, but still every day there's somebody that calls in where they're doing something new that I like haven't heard of. I'm like, what is they call in with this most random material. Can I do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, send it to me and I'll test it and we'll figure it out. But yeah, there's new business ideas that I hear about every day in the laser industry.
I didn't even imagine that, but yeah, you're seeing lasers more and more in the signage world. It's becoming more and more common. As 30 years ago, you'd be shocked to see a handful of lasers anywhere.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot more happen on that one. After, so you're seeing a growth in signage world. Obviously, you're still seeing the sign in the quilting world there. In the signage capacity, someone gets a hold of you. They head over to Thunder Laser USA and they say, "Hey, I want to buy a laser." You send them the laser and then you say, "Hasta la bye bye," or what's that customer service look like once you pick a laser up?
Yeah. So definitely not hasta la bye bye. We have a big training academy. So I like to get, because the machines are pretty well set up. Like you just got to uncrate it and kind of plug it in. I try to get my users to do that first, but then we do a one-on-one live training virtually. And so we'll walk you through, whatever product you're doing. If you're doing, hats or tumblers or signs, or if you're cutting wood, cutting acrylic, like let's get your settings dialed in. I really want to feel like I'm helping you get off the ground. And our support is one of the things that our customers love. We actually average 7 minutes on our ticket response times. So we're very quick. We respond on the weekends. So no, it's definitely not hasta la bye bye. It's we definitely like to have our people be successful with it.
Yeah, 7 minute turnaround time. That's impressive. That is an impressive fact right there. I cannot tell you how sad our society as a whole in the freaking United States, how customer service has gone down the toilet so much. And you find a good company that's willing to stand by their product and help you succeed. It's super rare. So 7 minutes is huge, man. Hats off to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun at times, but what we do it. I got a great team, and yeah, but it's something that we really. I mean, it's one of our core values. So
Very cool. Very cool. What let's see here. Yeah, core values. I know that. That's the US. The best kept secret in freaking any business on the planet.
uh, I try not to let it be a secret. I tell everybody I can about EOS, man. I could geek out on that stuff all day.
Yep. Yeah, no, we're launching it and it's been the best thing. It's just been absolutely the best thing. I can't wait to launch on my other companies. I just want to get this one fully vetted and pushed through before I start another one.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I mean, I get a lot of like solopreneurs. A lot of my people are solopreneurs. Kind of starting out in the back of their house or whatever, and they, is EOS for me type thing, and I'm not sure that it is. I think EOS requires I'm kind of getting down a rabbit hole here, but it requires some people. But I think the important thing is if you learn about it as a solopreneur, then you'll start to build your company with those things in mind, right? So like instead of having to go backwards and like fix everything, like you'll kind of walk down the path of building it correctly the first time. And I think it'll save you so much time and headache.
I agree. And when I first saw it, I was like, once you get 10 employees, then you should launch this. And now that I've been in it a little bit more, I'm like, no. Even if a one-man band, you got to know what you're aiming for.
And which hat you're wearing. You're just wearing all the different hats. You're just sitting in a bunch of different seats, and you'll slowly delegate those seats out. But yeah,
it's true. Super true. Framework. So what's the future of Thunder Laser? Where are you aiming the company for the next 5-10 years?
We're innovating quite a bit. So, like that's kind of one of the reasons that you're seeing more lasers in the sign industry is because they've gotten cheaper. And I'm one of those brands that's come along to challenge the guys that have been here for a long time, the Epilogue, the Trotec of the world. And so as our technology overseas gets better, we're going to compete more and more with, your more standardized brands, if you will. And so we're in the process of switching from, so kind of the old technology was glass laser tubes, and we're in the process of switching to the RF laser tubes, which is what your higher end machines use. We've come out with a line of fiber lasers, which is pretty big for marking on metal. Not so much in the sign industry. There's more like production type environments. And then also we're about to start walking down the UV printer line. So we do want to get into that. That's where our customer base lives. And so those are the things, but continuously improving. I think it wasn't until just a couple of years ago, really, that I started thinking of my company as a technology company. This is a technology company, and I think if we don't innovate our hardware, we're going to get left behind. You see new stuff coming out all the time, new Kickstarters and new, they're all over the place. They pop up.
There's quite a bit. Well, that's cool, man. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for that. Somebody wants to get a hold of you, find out more about your company. Where would they go?
We're on Instagram, Facebook, thunderlaserusa.com, YouTube. We don't do a lot on TikTok, but yeah, I would say Meta and YouTube would be a good place on the website.
Cool.
If they got questions, they want to set up a sales appointment, just sales@thunderlaserusa.com. They'd love to talk to you, and they can test out the ticket system if they want. They can email support@thunderlaserusa.com.
You sound like me. I do the same thing. I'm like, pretend you're already a client. Just call support. See how good we are.
Honestly, that's like the best, that's the strongest sales pitch I can give you, right? I mean, that and like ask other customers, ask other users. That's another great resource is our Facebook group, Global Thunder Laser Users. There's 15,000 people in there, I think. Very helping community, is a very maker-oriented community that they want to help each other. And it's a great way to learn about the machines and see what my customers are dealing with and saying on a regular basis, on a daily basis.
Well, when you're not out there making money, man, what's something fun that you do? We'll end on a fun note.
I do like starting companies. I'm about to start another one, actually importing building materials. But outside of money stuff, I like golf. I like wake surfing, being on the boat, being at the beach, good cold beer in my hand, going to the gym, just normal stuff. I don't know. I got 2 kids, so, outside of kids and work, there's not a whole lot of time. It seems like
no, there's not. I got 4 kids myself, and I actually bought new clubs 2 months ago only because my teenage boy stole my golf clubs. So I kind of used it as an excuse. I'm like, well, I could use new clubs. I've used them 1 time, and it's been 2 months. I'm like, this is so sad.
So like I bought a new putter a couple months ago, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like gonna change my game, right? Like a new driver, the new driver is gonna, I don't think it's the clubs, man.
Yeah, yeah. I look in the mirror quite a bit too, going, "Oh crap." Staying in the gym, necessity, fun, or mandatory?
Necessity, fun, or mandatory? All three,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I like to eat a lot for one thing. I mean, I do love good food, and that's the only way that I could even halfway stay in shape. But I think overall, like fitness is just important for running a business, right? Like I think, healthy body, healthy mind type stuff. I think you know, I just feel better mentally once I work out, and then it's not even like for long term. It's just for that day. I get up, get my workout in, and then my day is just going to go 30% better than if I hadn't worked out. And I think that 30% compounded day after day after day is super strong.
yeah. You're gonna make leaps and bounds when you do that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
in the
think
gym every morning at 5 a.m. myself, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You have to.
people think that business owners, big business owners, like have huge leaps and bounds, and it's just the daily stuff like that just compounds over time, right? Like you do the little thing every day, and then you look up in 5 years, and you're like, oh yeah, that mattered. That little habit paid off. Or and the other way it goes too, bad habits.
Well, Clay, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talking about your company and talking about lasers. Like I said, I always geek out whenever you and me get together and chit chat because it's a cool business. It's a really cool business you got going on over there.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, it was great talking to you. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it. And holler at me when you're in Texas.
Sounds like a plan to me. All right, thank you.
All right, see you.